Welcome to the Take Your Power Back show with Peak Performance Breakthrough Coach Kim Yater. Today's empowering program will encourage you to step into your power, to take action in your leadership, and allow your voice to be heard. Listen in today as we speak to other freedom-loving Americans that are making a positive impact in the world by standing in truth amid adversity. Learn how to take your power back in your freedom, in your personal and professional life, in technology and creativity, and in your faith. Be inspired, be encouraged, be transformed. Together, let's take your power back with our host, Peak Performance Breakthrough Coach, Kim Yater.
Hello, my freedom-loving patriots. Welcome to the Take Your Power Back show. I'm your host today, Peak Performance Master Coach Kim Yater. Today's empowering program, let me let you know, I want to thank you for putting time aside right now to be here. That says everything. You are a stand for our country and a stand for truth. I want to thank every single live streamer and show host who is getting this information out on their platforms. So you may be watching this on the Take Your Power Back show platform, the Take Our Border Back platform, and platforms of warrior show hosts across the country and even outside of the USA. I want you to know that that show host, that platform that is sharing this with you today, they are a stand for truth. They know the importance of all of us working together to move the needle and take our country back. So thank you to every single show host streaming today and those of you that have been joining us in this 3-part series. So in today's Take Your Power Back show, Operation Clean Sweep Part 2, we'll be speaking with retired Assistant Chief Sean Taylor and former City Attorney Brian Kroll as we roll out the 16-year murder board connecting all the dots, like a string of pearls, each pearl being a parasite of corruption. Listen in as we recap part 1 of Operation Clean Sweep, where we uncover evidence of mass corruption on a transnational level with tentacles far and wide. From Canada to the UK, you are about to see the evidence of is happening on a local level. That's right, impacting your city, your county, and your own backyard. We're talking election fraud today, voter fraud, geopolitical shifting, gentrification, human trafficking cover-ups, fraudulent mortgages, hundreds of billions, if not $1 trillion in fraud and embezzlement. You wonder how these selected officials are being paid off? Well, today, you'll see the evidence for yourself in part 2. Now, remember, we introduced the civil federal RICO case. We discussed that in the last segment. You'll be able to view that at the Take Your Power Back show on Rumble and on this platform that you're listening on. This civil federal RICO case is a template for you, your community, for us, we the people, to fight this systematic corruption and open the doors for a federal criminal RICO case. Come on, Kash Patel. Come on, Pam Bondi. They are listening. They are watching. And every single one of you, get ready, because things are about to shift at a very high level. We are bringing the truth into the light today. There will be no commercials. We're not having any interruptions. It'll be a flow of evidence. To start, we're going to recap part 1 of Operation Clean Sweep as we bring in Veterans for Child Rescue Craig Salmon Sawyer. And we're going to touch on Kim Kelly and Philip Drake's sabotaging a predator sting operation that left Veterans for Child Rescue and Millersville Police Department with 70 warrants never served. We'll also touch on Tennessee's fake news Phil Williams and what appears to be his mischievous connections to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations. Let's get the party started. Let's bring in the truth tellers. We're going to start with Assistant Chief Sean Taylor, former, and we're going to bring in city attorney, former city attorney, Bryant Kroll. So, Sean, I hate to say retired because you're not. You are, but you're really not. You're still in the fight. And Bryant, thank you for being in the fight as well.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen.
Hey, thanks for having us on, Kim. I definitely think getting this word out and getting all this information out, it's going to be, it's really going to tie things together with Doge and the things that's going on and the things that Elon and his team is what they're finding. And, like I said, this isn't something that's just happening, here in the United States. What people need to understand is this is transnational, just like child trafficking, human trafficking, narcotics trafficking, weapons trafficking. All of this stuff goes hand in hand, and people need to understand that it's right there in your little town, you're in your area. Millersville is just a town of 6,000. That's it. And here we are dealing with something that is part of a transnational platform.
Yeah, that's why it's so important that you all are here today. I know you've been fighting this fight for 16 years. So when we're talking about looking at that murder board today, guys, get ready. This is going to be absolutely powerful. And Sean, it's unbelievable to me the amount of work that you've put in. So we've got Doge releasing this information on a high level, right? And you have all the nitty gritty detail and evidence. And when this gets landed today, it's going to be powerful because this is about giving we the people our power back. And I want to remind us that General Flynn, what does he say all the time? Local action equals national impact. We're going to take this country back. Bryant, what's your say?
Well, I mean, today we're going to be talking about election fraud, and election fraud is the gateway to deep state corruption. And I mean, we have to stop the rigging if we the people want to take our power back, because election fraud isn't just about one vote. It's about people who get into power and who they're friends with and who they really serve. Because when fraudulent elections and these individuals get in, I mean, look what we're seeing with Doge. We're seeing this just complete deep state entrenched corruption. These people are unelected. They're appointed to these positions. We're finding out they're countering official government narratives. The CIA doesn't want to give this money to terrorists, but now they're giving it to terrorists through U.S. aid. This is precisely the type of backdoor, back deal, handshakes that happen that let people who should be prosecuted not be prosecuted. And that's what we're going to talk about today in detail, because these people make decisions that benefit themselves, not the public.
That's right. So I say we get started. Let's bring in actually, hang on. We've got Veterans for Child Rescue, Craig Salmon Sawyer. Now, his ears were probably burning. You know that saying when someone's talking about you? In our last segment of Operation Clean Sweep Part 1, we discussed what happened with Kim Kelly, Philip Drake, the whole corruption behind the scenes. And we got to share a little bit of the video with Craig Salmon Sawyer, Veterans for Child Rescue, Kim Kelly, and Philip Drake. But today we get to hear this from Craig's mouth. So let's bring him on in. He is nice and warm. Hello. Look at you in that jacket, all warmed up here in the mountains somewhere.
I'm toasty warm. It's about 17 degrees here right now where I'm at,
Lord,
Colorado. So nice.
Hi, Craig. So, Craig, give us the lowdown. We discussed everything, last round in regards to the sabotaging of that case. Yeah. And but why don't you there are probably pieces that we didn't touch on that you feel are important. So let's bring it to the table.
Well, it's just bizarre to see when we ran that sting operation with Millersville Police Department, the wild overreaction by the local reporter against law enforcement, and he didn't seem to have an excuse for why he was so upset. And that just people around Millersville and Nashville, you don't have to go at it very long before you run into a whole bunch of people that have a lot of things to say about Phil Williams and his radical leftist agenda and his activist role within the media to make certain stories go away. And we started learning about child trafficking, child rape crimes, murders, and a lot of the cover up from corrupted officials there. And then we started learning about the real estate loan fraud, hundreds of billions of dollars. These people are panicking. They're guilty of such egregious crimes that they'll be put away for long sentences, if not worse, according to the nature of harm that they've done to the American national security and to their community. So watching this wild panic and overreaction has been a bizarre experience for us. And come to find out, Kim Kelly, who is an online promoter, ran her own small business called Grow Online. And then when we started learning that she was working with the reporter, we started digging further into her background, because she'd been trying to help our organization promote our organization and mission. And she was literally betraying us and literally trying to stop 70 warrants on vile child predators. So we started digging into her background and found massive fraud, like a life of fraud and con artist. And she was raised and made to grift in a family-run sex cult, very distorted. Under the banner of Jesus Christ, they were trafficking children, including Kim and her sisters. And she was describing to us earlier how she was made to grift and lie and con people for money. And now we see that that's never ended. She led us to believe that she had been healed and delivered from that family and that lifestyle. Well, now we see that quite obviously she and her business partner, Philip Drake, are still con artists and still making their living by grifting. So company after company after company, they hop, and they never live in one place for long. They never have the same company name for long. And they're constantly rotating, ditching, rebranding themselves and ripping off the next people. And then we started looking into what they were trying to do, actually trying to purchase children from Child Protective Services. They were asking us for $35,000 to buy children that they were not legally allowed to be in possession of. And just strange, bizarre chain of events. We asked Kim Kelly about it in good faith. And with a stone cold face of a complete psychopath, she told us none of that was really happening, and that we were lying about all of it. And that, her business partner was not a fraud and a con artist. Well, now he's been in jail for several months, since 11 November in Southern Texas. So she can't claim that that's a lie anymore. She can't claim that her businesses are legitimate anymore, because Grow Online has been out of regulation with taxes out of Houston for 6 years. She hasn't paid her taxes on her business. So these people, it's been a bizarre, the arrest of predators who are committed the crime multiple times over of seeking sex with children and trying to snatch the children and traffic them. So why is it happening? I think a lot of that remains to be seen when we can investigate them further, who's paying them, what their real motives are, what the trafficking network looks like that they are working with, or maybe not. But that for me has been the most bizarre thing. How can someone who pretends to want to safeguard children fight against those who are actually arresting the predators with a 100% conviction rate and putting them in prison? So that for me has been very, very strange. And it's upsetting to see anyone attacking law enforcement who are doing the good faith work. And what's happened to Millersville Police Department is an atrocity. I think that people of Tennessee need to rise up and revolt against those who, under any banner, are attacking Millersville Police Department. So already the chief of police and the assistant chief of police have resigned due to the hostility leveled against them, because their families don't need it. It's gotten so ugly and so contentious and so bitter. And it's very upsetting, because once upon a time, by my understanding, Millersville Police Department had grown completely corrupt. So the city council there and the new chief of police completely drained it, flushed it of all of its corruption, and brought in quality law enforcement, man by man, woman by woman, that they knew and trusted. And that was that new crew of good faith law enforcement servants that we ran that sting operation with, and racked up 1 arrest and 70 warrants. And that is the crew. That's the law enforcement group of heroes, in my opinion, that the reporter and all of the other corrupted officials are now making lawfare against and defaming publicly and going off the edge, off the deep end in their public defamation with malice, literally trying to destroy these people's families. It's
Yeah.
vile, it's ugly, and it's deeply, deeply
Yes.
disturbing. And I think there needs to be a massive uprising in good faith to get
Come
to
on.
the facts and hold those accountable who are attacking those who serve and protect in good faith.
Yes. Come on, Greg. Let me ask you this. Where are those children? These warrants were never served. Kim Kelly, Philip Drake sabotaged this case. Where are those children?
And how many children have those rapists raped and snatched and trafficked and organ harvested and tortured and murdered since May of 2024, when those predators should have been put away? We did the work, and the predators committed the crimes, and they should be locked away awaiting their trials or already sentenced to prison. Yet now they are still free and have been raping, murdering, and selling children with impunity. Thanks to Kim Kelly, thanks to Phil Williams, thanks to Philip Drake and their sabotage of Millersville, the police department, and Veterans for Child Rescue.
Gosh, Sean, Brian,
Ugly.
you want to add anything into that conversation?
I got to tell you, that's probably the thing that upsets me the most. And there's another aspect of that. If you'll recall, these people got on one of these other talk shows and were talking about, I think the host said something like, well, they only got one arrest. It seems like a waste of resources. And I sat here thinking, wait a minute, this guy, objectively looking at the evidence, the guy that we arrested, there's comments. I showed that at the last interview we did, where people were warning about how he had a proclivity to have sex with children. And so we know, and I accused him or alleged in the complaint that he was a serial child rapist based on that. Serial, 1, 2, 3, 4? I mean, how many does it take? But then they said, well, that's just
department not been blocked from serving those warrants, for which they had all the evidence for a 100% conviction rate on all those predators.
I mean, there was evidence in those phones that, I mean, it was estimated at least 70 people could have done it. It was probably even more than that, but we won't know because those phones and all that evidence was seized. So we never had a chance to even present it. I mean, it was one of these things that, and all out of greed and all out of this desire to destroy people who had no idea that they had such a vendetta, the Kim Kelly and Phil Drake. I mean, it was just such a waste.
It really makes me, you think about this in totality, because, in law enforcement and investigations, you have to look at the totality of circumstances and what's going on. And when you take each bread crumb and you put it into a bowl and it starts adding up, all of a sudden you're starting to get the bigger picture of what's happening here. And at first I thought, well, yeah, it could have to do with, is somebody trying to cover something up? Did we obtain information that people didn't want us to have regarding some of these pedophiles that were responding to the ads that our detectives were talking with? And so I started looking at that, but then I started looking at, the people who scream the loudest generally have the most to hide. And it's just very interesting to me when we start looking at, who's screaming the loudest. Well, we know who's screaming the loudest. And the person that's really screaming the loudest has been these corrupt politicians that we have been running into. But the other person that's screaming the loudest is who? Phil Williams on behalf of these corrupt politicians. So we have to ask ourselves why. So when we start mapping that out, Kim, is that going to share there?
Absolutely. I'm going to share that right now. Wow. Okay. So let's just let you guys know, this is it. This is the 16-year murder board, connecting all the dots like a string of pearls. This is parasite after parasite after parasite of corruption. Wow.
And what people need to understand is this is just one cell of this organism. This is just one cell. Okay. This is multiple cells that make up an organism. And that organism is this socialist agenda that's being pushed across the United States, Canada, South America, and the rest of the world. This is what Doge is finding. These groups have been funding from the past administration. Okay. So let's look at this. In this chart, let's see if we can get it down here for you. we look at Midas Touch Media. Midas Touch Media was started by Brett Measles. We'll call him Bread. Benjamin, his brother. And then you have the other brother as well, as we can find him. He's on here somewhere, but it's 3 brothers. These brothers are the ones who started going against Trump, who started building this super PAC, this mega PAC. And it was all about taking out the people that are trying to stop the corruption. These people, their attorney has been defending child traffickers or people that have been caught with child porn for a very long time, and has actually bragged about getting security clearances for people who have been convicted of having child porn. Okay, that's what they're connected to. So when we look at this in totality and the things that are happening, you have this guy, Frederick Wellen, I believe his name is, and if I'm not mistaken, he or somebody with him has a lawsuit against General Flynn. So they're trying to attack. Okay.
Sean, can we make that even bigger? I want everyone to yeah, there we go. Let's zoom on in. And before we move forward, Craig, I'm going to release you right now because I know you are in the midst of some very important work. And we just want to say thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for fighting the good fight.
Thank you, brother.
Before we go back to Sean, any final words that you want to share?
No, I say God bless you guys for being willing to stand up and speak the truth, and for Sean and his fellow law enforcement and everybody else who's really working to serve and protect in good faith. Bryant as well, for standing up, speaking truth under such hostile circumstances. It's very strange, but truth is on our side. And time is on our side, because look at the new incoming administration.
That's right.
The FBI will be purged of its corruption, and the people around Nashville who are corrupt are about to lose their top cover. And so I celebrate that. I think everybody needs to be encouraged, and let's work in that and in that encouragement and faith, and carry the ball and speak the truth, and let justice fall wherever it may, according to the truth. So be encouraged. I appreciate all you guys, and Godspeed.
Godspeed. We love you. Veterans for Child Rescue, Craig Sawman Sawyer, V4CR.org. And I said OG, that Boston accent, org, not OG, org. Back to you, Sean.
So what we did is we started looking at Phil and finding out what he's connected to. So he's connected to this progressive liberal PAC, which is Midas Touch, who is pushing a lot of this agenda. And when we start looking at the people who are involved in Midas Touch that Phil Williams is attached himself to, we get people like his brother, who was one of the producers or something to that effect on the Ellen DeGeneres show. We get where they are also tied in directly to Diddy.
Can we zoom in on this? Let's really shed the light here. We got Hillary Clinton over here. You've got wow.
When you look at this, Benjamin's dad, Kenneth, was the attorney, or is the attorney for a lot of Diddy's businesses and things like that. Diddy and his wife, what is her name, J-Lo or whatever, introduced Diddy Diddy introduced Kenneth to his wife, his now wife. Okay. And so we have this huge, anywhere you see triangles that are built up where it interconnects like that, that's where you have issues. So what we have is we have Diddy, who introduced Kenneth to his now wife, who is the father of Benjamin. Benjamin got in with Diddy and was helping Diddy with the voters initiative for Hillary Rodham Clinton, and helped him get an internship under Hillary Clinton at her office. Wow. Now, that is a major concern. Well, the other major concern about this is when we go further into this, we end up we're going to go into another chart. So let me stop sharing for just a second.
And for those of you that are listening right now, every single one of you, you want to share this. So right now, share this stream, share it on your platforms, get the word out. You are seeing the evidence today. These are the connections made. This would not have been put together if there were not evidence backing it up. So powerful. Brian, what's your thought with what what Sean is sharing?
So, I mean, with these connections, these are all backed up by public records and public statements and things of that nature. And what you can see here are essentially the waterfalls of where money is flowing and where the influence is flowing. So when you see these lines going between these people, that's what this chart does. That's what this software does. And so it's a pretty powerful tool. It's been easy for these people to be lost in the information flood that we have day in and day out through mainstream media and legacy media, constantly with their narratives. And the internet just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like the cosmic void of space, and it gets harder and harder and harder to find these things unless you know where to look, unless you know where to go. And it always starts with open source intelligence, or OSINT. Public records, what's on there, public statements, what are these people saying? When you start accumulating this stuff into an evidence file of some sort, or a chart like this is the type of connections that you can see, and it becomes apparent.
I mean, this, first of all, when we're talking, in my mind, growing up in the television world and watching these murder mysteries, we have, my association is, we've got this murder board, right? So this is unlike anything I have ever seen. The technology that Assistant Chief Sean Taylor is utilizing to put this together for us to understand it is huge. Okay, are we ready to share this?
We are. And so everybody knows I'm not going to be zooming in too far because there's actionable intel and information on this chart. So I've made the pictures of the people bigger so that you can see who I'm talking about, but you're not going to be able to see the pertinent information. Okay.
Yes. So this is transnational, guys. This is huge. This is all the corruption we've been experiencing for years, all right here.
So what we're looking at is, again, P. Diddy introduced Ken to his wife. Ken's son here was helping get votes with P. Diddy for Hillary Clinton. Okay. So we have numerous connections to Hillary. Hillary, boy, we all know about Hillary. We're going to come back to her in just a second. Let's get into this a little bit further. So you have that happening. One of the very big people, the one that I told you about that was looking at, I believe, is suing General Flynn, this gentleman right here. He also is a mega donor to Midas Touch, but he was also a visitor to Pedo Island with Jeffrey Epstein, okay? And he's the one who came up with the money for the legal defense for Fusion GPS that produced the fake dossier on Trump. Okay? He's the one who assisted, oh Lord, I can't think of her name, South Carolina, the one that was going to run for president there. He donated $250,000 to her. So you have all of these things that these people are involved in. But then again, we come back to who? Jeffrey Epstein, because we know that Hillary Rodham Clinton was going to Pedo Island, Epstein's place, and Epstein was donating to her and all of that. So you see the people that these people are around, and you have P. Diddy, who's now been arrested for it. So when you look at this in totality, you literally, you've got Phil Williams, who is tied into this entire thing and who has been pushing this entire attack about our pedo sting and trying to discredit us in the things that we are doing. Okay. So,
and again, Phil Williams, it was Channel 5 in Tennessee. So he is a broadcaster, and there's some kind of mischievous things going on there.
Oh yes, there are definitely some mischievous things. And one of the things that I love right now, Kim, is when we start looking at everything, again, we have to look at totality of the circumstances. So, we're not the only ones who have been calling Phil out. We are not the only ones that have been calling him out. So, just so everybody understands, and I'm going to share this with everybody as well. He's trying to push this agenda for this Midas touch or whoever, because, Phil is no longer under Phil at Channel 5. He is Phil at Phil Investigates now. Just so everybody knows. So all of a sudden he's changed his X handle to Phil Investigates. So we have to ask ourselves, well, why is Phil, changing that? What's this? Well, apparently he does have a new contract, and that's all great. But one of the people that is calling Phil out right now is, let's get ready for this. And let's see which window are we going to share. We'll share that window.
All right, I'm going to pull that up.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, beautiful. Got it. It's up. Okay. What do we got here? Per the center's governance established by Congress in 1958, the chair of the Board of Trustees is appointed by the center's board members. There is nothing in the center's statute that would prevent a new administration from replacing board members. However, this would be the first time such action has been taken with the Kennedy Center's board. This is from Rapid Response 47. And then Phil Williams says, let's get close. President Trump Kennedy's Center announcement appears to be blatantly illegal. U.S. Code says general trustees shall hold office for a term of 6 years. Nothing about the president's having power to remove, and the corruption is appointed by the board. A president cannot Give me the lowdown, Sean. What's going on here?
Basically, this is the White House calling out local news reporter Phil Williams.
That's
and
awesome.
What does it say at the top? Stop lying, Phil.
Oh, yeah, let's blow that up. Stop lying, Phil. So that kind of why he has the name fake.
You have that one where he's literally lying and the White House calls him out on it. Mm-hmm. But then he isn't just called out once. They call him out again within a few days. And here's the other one.
Oh, wait. Here it is. All right. Rapid Response 47. Fake news Phil is doing what he does best, lying. There are no cuts to research funding. NIH is bringing its indirect cost policy in line with what research institutions receive from private foundations. It's simply good governance. Phil says, from Association of Public and Land Grant Universities, NIH slashing the reimbursement of research costs will show and limit medical breakthroughs that cure cancer, address chronic disease such as diabetes and heart disease. Again, fake news Phil is doing what he does best, lying.
He is shilling the propaganda and trying to push the lies and the narratives out, just like he did against us at Millersville. And then he got a dirty DA, dirty judges, and some members of the TBI to come in and do what they did against us. And, all of this started at the city of Millersville, just in Millersville, with nothing more than somebody that basically committed voter fraud and then was assisted by the election board of Sumner County. And then they broke the law and committed election fraud. And then you have the DA and the TBI who say, oh, there's not enough evidence, and they won't prosecute. Then we've got a state attorney general that we asked for a prosecutor pro tem and an investigative grand jury in which we were denied all of this. Okay. And we have all the documents to prove this. And we're going to be sharing that with you guys right now. Mm-hmm. And so what this looks like is the very first thing I'm going to pull up is going to be the picture of the document that was sent to the Bureau of Ethics and Finance Campaign and all that stuff, because you have to do your due diligence. You have to jump through every hoop to make sure that once you get to where you're going, they don't say, hey, you didn't do this. Now you got to go back to ground zero and start over again. Okay. So what this is,
let's blow that up nice and big.
This is the complaint This is the sworn complaint right here.
Mm-hmm.
And so that had to be filled out. So that was all filled out. And basically this is what the complaint is about. And then they're only allowed to look at very specific rules under the Bureau of Ethics and are able to enforce them. Okay. So this is where we set that stage. So this one, let's see here. That's Miss Template. Let's go back to the next page. We've got so many documents. So this is where it was sworn and sent in. Okay. That's what this page is it shows that it's been notarized. It is a sworn affidavit of complaint. Okay. So people can see we did the due diligence at starting right there. And then what we're going to bring up next is going to be the actual report that was sent to the Bureau of Ethics regarding this voter fraud. And what people, Brian, can you explain to people what voter fraud is so that they can understand it from a legal standpoint?
Yeah, and I wanted to emphasize one thing first too here. So Sean's talking about all of these formalities with these complaints, and your viewers, Kim, we the people, you have to follow their rules as if you're trying to follow the game of Monopoly and you read the back of it, because they're not going to help you do this. They will use it against you. If it's not verified, they're going to put it in a file somewhere and they're never even going to start investigating it, and they're not going to tell you about it. So 6 months goes by, whatever, and you go check in and it's somebody doesn't know, I don't know, that was somebody else handling it. No, make sure that you're following all of the rules and doing all of these things in advance. But so we're talking about voter fraud and election fraud and residency fraud. Those three things are tied together because you first have to be a resident of a municipality. In Tennessee, I'm pretty sure everywhere in the United States has a residency requirement. This is why illegals shouldn't be allowed to vote, why they're not allowed to vote, right? You have to be a citizen, a resident. You have to be here, right? So Millersville,
we're supposed to, yes.
Supposed to.
That's supposed to be the case.
Ideally, right?
Right.
Legally, you're supposed to. So you have to vote to become a qualified voter in Tennessee. You have to be a resident of a place, and a resident, it's where you intend to return, where you're habitating, where your abode is, your usual place of abode. Okay. So it can't be a business. You don't abode there. You don't reside there. You don't whatever. It has to be your home, where you sleep, where you go to. And now you can't bounce around from place to place to try to circumvent this either. Because in that case, you could theoretically have a place in Millersonville, Hendersonville, Goodlettsville, and everywhere else, and you're trying to vote in all of those. So it has to be where you spend the majority of your time, has to be where you return to go. So that's the residency issue. Now, where it becomes fraud at first is if you falsely register your address for your residency in a city and then you go vote there. So like we've got very specific TCAs under this. So that's the Tennessee Code Annotated. So our statutes here says a person's residence for voting purposes is the place where their habitation is fixed and where they intend to return. So a fraudulent voter registration, which is then used to determine residency for election, it's the same kind of thing for election fraud. Fraudulent voter registration, and a candidate can violate the TCAs here for illegal registration, false entries on election documents. You've got all these things, but the bottom line is you have to have listed a residential address that is valid at the beginning of this. And we'll see here in a little bit how many crimes can stack up when it's properly investigated and properly prosecuted. Sean, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into the actual report that was submitted. Everything that was gathered through FOIA requests and things of that nature and open source intelligence. Okay. So everything you're going to see is available to the public. It's just that the public has to do their due diligence by sending in the FOIA requests and sitting online and digging up all the information. So Ms. Template, she's tied to numerous businesses with her husband, or now ex-husband. And what we found is that she had registered to vote on January 18th of 2018 using the address 7711 Ruby Lane in Goodlettsville. The reason it's Goodlettsville is because Millersville does not have its own post office. Okay. They don't have their own post office, so the Goodlettsville post office does the mail. Therefore, it's a zip code of Goodlettsville, but it's for Millersville. Okay. So what we have found is they have numerous companies, and we have all the previous addresses and dates that she lived in these addresses. And what we have found is that location, 7711 Ruby Lane, her husband bought December 14th of 2016. The thing is it was just a parcel of property. There was no building. There was no trailer. There was no water. There was no electricity on the property. Okay. January 18th of 2018, Christina registers to vote using that address. Well, she couldn't use that address because there was no home there. There was no trailer there. There was nowhere to stay. And we know that because Winston didn't receive a permit to build a home until June 1st of 2020. So right there, we already have the fraud being committed. She swore on her voter registration that she lived at that address, and that was not correct. Okay. So the next thing that happens is we have to go back and do our due diligence. So what we did is we got the report regarding the schedule of the inspections that were being done to show that the home was not there. There's no way it was habitable.
Can we make that a little bit bigger, Sean? Can you blow that up just a bit?
Yep, we can blow that up.
And one thing to point out here is another very common form of fraud. What you'll notice here is this permit. This is what happens when you have somebody on the inside assisting you.
Yeah.
So we talked about the string of pearls. It's different layers of government, right? So you have the people down here, the citizens and the special interest groups and these corporations. Then you have somebody inside city government that's allowing you to, and this was under the, I don't know how many prior administrations before us, but that they do this remodel thing. Now they put it as a remodel that conceals to the average person that sees it. This should have been a new construction build, not a remodel. Remodel suggests there's an existing dwelling there, and Google Earth shows there's nothing but grass and there's not even a dirt driveway. So this remodel, it's also another kind of fraud, because what that does is it's cheaper than a new construction build, and it takes away the tax revenue from the county, to the point that when we were there, we met with the county and they said, "Yes, it's been going on for years. We're not getting our revenue. What gives?" And I believe it was disclosed then that there's all these fraudulent remodel permits and things of that nature. Now, I doubt they did anything about that, but that's an important point here for citizens to look out for. Confirm everything with Google Earth, confirm it with the permits, go look at this stuff.
It's good.
So we know that the footing inspection wasn't done until 7/10 of 2020. And then Christina filed to run for city commissioner on 8/20 of 2020. Well, the footings haven't even been in really for a month. And then 7 days later is when the water meter was finally installed. 7 days after she used that address for her nomination form. And by her swearing on that nomination form that that was her address and that she lived there, she's now committed 2 more crimes.
Okay. Let me
that is a fraudulent address.
Yep. Let me pop up Christina real quick. Okay. Again, this is Christina Template. Important to know. She was a city official, okay, running for office. And what you're disclosing right now is everything that was happening behind the scenes. We're beginning to see this geopolitical shifting, right? How they are manipulating where these people live. I mean, they can't vote for her unless she lives in that house, right?
Yes. And because she didn't actually live there, wasn't a resident of Millersville, was staying at a home in another city, which you'll see here in a minute, she could not run for office in that city. You have to be a resident. You can't just own property. You have to be a resident thereof. So what we've ended up finding,
this isn't just Christina Template, right? Just kind of taking that 10,000-foot view. This isn't just one little person.
No, this is happening. This is happening across the country. We have numerous other cases of this happening within Sumner County, where the DA is refusing to prosecute any of these people. And then they're trying to coerce the people who do have the legitimate right to run for office, like push them out, threatening them, pushing them out. And we're going to get into that here in a minute on how they're picking and choosing who they want in office and using the DA and the TBI to do so. And then who they want out and who they want in.
Got it.
So what we end up finding is a water meter isn't installed till a week later after she had registered to run for office using this address. Okay, so we got numerous felonies and numerous Class A misdemeanors at this point. So when we get down to it, what we end up finding is she's elected to office and takes office well before the House is even finished. So this is basically what we just went through. Christina Template registers to vote using this address, January 18th, 2018. June 1st of 2020, they get the building permit. July 10th of 2020, they get the footing inspections. Application completed for her to run for election on August 20th. August 27th, water meters installed. September 7th, the framing, the walls are going in. August 25th, they just got done with the insulation. And on November 3rd, she is elected to office. November 24th, she's sworn into office. They didn't get a final. This was a temporary inspection extension that was put on February 26th, 2 days after she's sworn into office. They don't actually get to move in to this location until March 12th of 2021. So if they can't move in legally till this date, how did she use that address as back in 2018 as her address for registering to vote, registering to run for office, taking office, being sworn into office? All of these are crimes. These are multiple crimes. Okay.
Yeah.
Son, I think everybody's wondering, like, what? Surely the election commission has investigated. Surely they confirmed the address. I would be, if I'm sitting in another state right now, and I don't know anything about those, but surely they were looking at this, right? They knew about this. They knew or should have known, right? Then we're finding out that we're about to see some interesting emails, Sean. I can't wait for you to get to those.
Oh yeah, we get to the emails. Now the interesting part is the DA, two people, separate times, went to the district attorney and asked him to investigate this. He refused. The one person went back a second time, and the DA threatened him. So the DA was letting him know, no, I'm backing Christina Template. So what we have are all the laws that she has violated, how she violated these laws. Everything is listed. I mean, there's numerous felonies, numerous misdemeanors that have been committed just right now, just on the registration and the running for office. So right here, she says 1055 Ridgecrest is where she receives mail, which is a business location. 1251 Hogan's Branch Road is in Hendersonville, which means she doesn't live there. This is when she's doing her change of address, January 18th, 2018, and she changes it to the 7711 Ruby Lane. And we know that because we have the voter roll right here, and it tells us January 18th, 2018, that she put 7711 Ruby Lane.
Gotta love that voter roll. Come on.
Then we have the Sumner County Election Commission, where she is registering to run for office. Says she's from Puerto Rico, Christina Template, gives that address again, 7711 Ruby Lane. But we know the house isn't done at this time because we have the permit schedule. All right. The next thing we have to be able to prove all of this is the time frames on the house on when it was bought and sold and all of that. So we have all of that information, which is right here. This is her and her husband's company right here. Okay.
Blow that up just a little bit.
Yep. That's what we're going to do right here. So
wow.
Right
just so extensive. The proof that you have is absolutely unbelievable.
And this is just barely the tip of the iceberg. Now what this one is the permit schedule, and I'm going to try to pull it in. We've got a better picture of it. It just doesn't look good here. So this is the permit schedule that we were able to get everything off of. So we know the times of the permits. For some reason, it faded on this. I don't know why. So we had the permits. Then we pulled the candidate nomination form, again, using the 7711 Ruby Lane. We know that she couldn't use this address at this date, this 2020 date, because the house wasn't finished until 21. And this is where she had filed to run. Okay. So we have all of these different things. Then she tries to say that she lived in a trailer. She's giving information out to people on Facebook. And what they do is they end up responding to people on Facebook, and they give all of these different things, all these different reasons on all of the reasons why. So there's no sense in going through all of that. But basically what that's doing is it's catching them in their lies and what they're saying. But here is the really interesting part, where the state of Tennessee is now complicit in what's going on. So what this is Annette Hall with the county voting commission, and she works for Lori Ashley. Lori Ashley is the director of elections. Subject, Christina Template. Okay, good morning. The letters we sent to Christina Template at 7711 Ruby Lane in Goodlettsville were returned to us, quote, no mail receptacle, end quote. Do you have another address for her? Thanks for the help. Morgan Tigert, Ethics Operations Officer, Bureau of Ethics and Campaign Finance. Okay, so now the state knows she doesn't have an address there. There's no mail receptacle. Okay, so then the email continues, and all of these people, including Lori Ashley, are a part of it. Morgan just spoke to Christina. All her mail should be going to her business address, 1055 Ridgecrest Drive. Okay. Recently built a home on land and installed a mail receptacle there too. Thanks. Annette Hall, Assistant Administrator of Elections. Now, we go on. We got the dates. We've got everything here. Just Googled and suspect the large Hogan's Branch home, which is this is Hendersonville, is now the bed and breakfast she rattled off to Sherry. Sherry is one of the employees there at the election office. Okay. So Christina had called and talked to Sherry regarding all of this because it was turning into an issue, and Christina got a phone call and was told it was an issue. So Lee, FYI, Christina won as of pick 3 for alderman in Millersville, November 3rd, 2020 election.
Wow.
All today, Morgan Tigert with Bureau received return mail with no receptacle at 7711 Ruby Lane in Goodlettsville, at the Goodlettsville address. I called Miss Template, who confirmed her mail to address on voter profile of 1055 Ridgecrest, her business address, which is right here. She mentioned she just put a mailbox up at the 7711 Ruby Lane address, which we already discussed. I told her I would inform the Bureau. A while later, Ms. Template called and Sherry answered, needed to advise someone of her address issue. So now she's saying she's got the issue. She stated her house on Ruby Lane has not been completed and she has been living in other homes and has not occupied the Ruby Lane. That's an admission. That is an admission that now 100% gives us the right to be able to charge her for numerous felonies and misdemeanors because of all of the fraud that she's committed. For the voter registering to vote using a fake address and then swearing to that, then filling out the paperwork and swearing to that for that address. Those are all crimes that she has committed because she doesn't live at this address, and she's admitting this right here. Okay. Then the house, due to appliances not being installed yet, someone, assumption the city, will not let her move in until that occurs, until she gets her appliances, is what that means. Stated to Sherry, she has been bouncing around and that one of her homes has been turned into the bed and breakfast, possibly the Hendersonville address, but not sure. Her last address at 1251 Hogan's Branch Road, Hendersonville. First time she voted was November 3rd, 2020, registered January 18th, 2018. We already know this because of the voter roll, right?
That's right.
spoke to Beth HR with the state. Beth stated the election commission is not involved since the election is over, and that Ms. Template should contact Rob Wheeler, Millersville city attorney.
Their hands up. Yep.
And so basically the state just said, my name's Bennett and I ain't in it. All right. That's what the state just did. That's Trey Hargett's office, by the way, who happens to live in Hendersonville, in Sumner County, who claims Sumner County had some of the most secure elections in the state of Tennessee. Well, Trey, I don't believe that at all. So this email goes on to say she actually changed her address to 7711 Ruby Lane, Millersville, on August 4th when she pulled the petition. Well, no, she registered to vote January 18th, 2018, and we have the voter roll showing 7711 Ruby Lane. So now you have the county election commission lying to cover up all of this.
Wow.
To go even further, Sherry just stated there was some question of her address and she was advised to speak to the city attorney. So they say she actually changed her address, 77 Ruby Lane, on August 4th when she pulled the petition. There is not a residency requirement in Millersville. There is a residency requirement in every municipality, every county in the state of Tennessee. These people know this. These people know this because they're the directors of the election. They know this for a fact. They have a copy of the charter. This is the administrators of elections covering up for somebody that they want to put into office. What do we say? They're not elected. They're selected. And
That's right.
The election commission pushing the selected ahead and assisting them in breaking the law.
And now they got a friend in another municipality that will support them. And that's what we see. That's one more piece of the puzzle getting along in this organism, this parasite of taxpayer dollars and corruption.
So this is happening across the United States. Right now, we have numerous cases in Sumner County where people have been allowed to run for offices that they didn't live in the area, that had no right. There's a civil case right now that's being sought in Sumner County over the school board with a woman who didn't live at an address, and they allowed her to run anyways. And it's the same district attorney, Ray Whitley, who was found guilty of he was found to have perjured himself, and they didn't bring charges on him because he's part of this criminal the network here in the state of Tennessee, which goes national and transnational. This is the selection process, not the election process, that these people are involved in.
That's right. That says it all. So now let's connect the dots. Let's connect the dots between Christina Template and what's her name? Lori Ashley. What's that connection there, Sean?
So the connection with that is Lori Ashley is, and we'll bring it up here in one of the emails right here. Okay. She's on one of the emails. Let's find it. Right there we go. Lori Ashley is the director of elections for Sumner County, Tennessee. Okay, she was brought in, really didn't have any experience at it, and she's been doing some very interesting things, including bringing in voting machines that were not supposed to be brought in. And when the county commission moved to have her ousted, she sued them, got it in front of one of her cohort judges who's involved in a lot of these shady transactions with the construction and the real estate that's going on. And he allowed this case to go on and on and on. And the interesting thing is these voting machines that were brought in don't meet the requirements that we're supposed to have for Sumner County. And Miss Lori Ashley was arrested for the theft of a trailer from one of her tenants, which this case just kind of went away. But then she was arrested again and charged for, I believe it was aggravated domestic assault with a hammer against her husband or her live-in. And the interesting part about that is she's involved in a lot of this construction stuff herself Miss Lori Ashley is. But Lori Ashley, in these criminal cases, has stated that her attorney is the same attorney that provides legal counsel for the voting company where she got the machines.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, we find that extremely interesting. It sounds like that voting machine company is doing its best to make sure their product stays in that office by protecting the person who's putting it there. And the judge,
these people accused me of having a conflict of interest because I'd represented Sean in a case against a different municipality that was not doing anything actively at the time I was the city attorney. I mean, despite all these other conflicts of interest, that is the one thing that's brought up, and it's not under. I mean, this is the type of stuff that you'll see as part of the fake news and all these other things. But follow the money. I mean, look at.
So, Kim, I believe we shared some 911 calls with you.
Yes,
let's go ahead and let the listeners.
All right, let's do that. Let's play the first one. Let me pull up Lori Ashley first, because this is who we're talking about. Hang on one second. We're going to pull her on up right here. Here is Miss Lori Ashley. Let me go back to the banners real quick, and we are going to pull up. Let's see. We've got right over here. Hang on one second. All right. So these are the recordings. They are, what would you call them? The 911 recordings.
The 911 tapes.
All right. Let's play the first one.
911 location of your emergency.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, this is Floyd Wilkinson. Can you hear me?
I can. What's the address?
Promontory Way.
Sunshine Lane, 787, Boy George, Henry.
What was the address, sir?
It's a dead end of Promontory Way.
Do you have a numeric?
I don't know. I can't see through the number, so
you
it's
don't know.
Hard to find.
Is this your address?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Promontory Way.
Yes, sir. I understand, but do you have a numeric for your house?
Same thing.
Okay. What is your name, sir?
Floyd Wilkinson.
All right, Floyd. Is it 204 Promontory Way?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you verify your phone number for me?
The number, I don't know. I might lose it.
You don't know your number? Is it 406-7220?
If you come down,
is that your phone number?
615-406-7220. Floyd Wilkinson.
Okay, Floyd. What's going on tonight?
Just send a police officer over here. It would be great.
Okay, what's going on?
Her, Lori Ashley.
Okay, what's going on with her?
She's out of control.
Is she yelling at you? What's going on? Explain to me what's happening.
Oh yeah, even worse than that. It's worse than that.
Is she your wife?
All you gotta do is come down. She is, but that's okay. It doesn't matter when you carry on like this.
109.
So if you come down Walton Ferry Road and you come to Cumberland Shores, turn left, and then when you get there,
I have people en route to you. I just need to know what's going on so I can let them know as they're on their way.
109.
Okay, that'd be great.
055.
Send them this way.
We're
standing here with a. Get out of my face, woman.
Hey, does she have any weapons?
No, ma'am. He has the phone, Floyd.
Get the damn thing.
The phone. Let me have the phone.
Get away.
Have the phone.
They hearing every word you're saying, and you're begging for your.
Hey, Floyd, let's not cause any more disturbance, okay? Let's just talk to me. You said her name is Lori?
Okay. Actually, Atchley.
Is that her last name?
Lori, that's her last name.
Okay.
Lori is her first name.
Lori, okay. What is she doing?
Lord have mercy, took a damn hammer and everything else, wanting to just tell the officer to come on over here.
Does she have the hammer still?
Hell yeah, she still got it.
What is she doing with the hammer?
Gonna hit me in the damn head.
Did she hit you in the head with it?
Oh no, not at all.
Did she try to hit you in the head with it?
Here. Huh?
Did she try to hit you?
Yeah, she tried to hit me with it. I throwed my arms up to stop her.
Okay.
All right, Kim. So we can stop it right there. So that pretty much paints a picture for us on that. So the police officers respond to the scene. And in the Tennessee, it says if you can determine a primary aggressor, which I think we can pretty much do that you shall arrest. Okay, you shall. When it says you shall, that means you don't have an opinion anymore. You are directed to arrest by law. Well, considering she's got a hammer, she's trying to hit him, I think we can determine a primary aggressor. Okay, so the police officers leave for whatever reason. Were they told to leave by maybe a supervisor? Or a phone call was made? I don't know. Could have happened. But after the police officers leave, guess what? She comes back out and keeps going, and that's where you get 911 call number 2, which you can play now.
All right, let's go pull that up right now. 911 call number 2.
911, what is the location of your emergency?
What's the address here? I'm on Promontory Way. Your officers just left, but the lady just assaulted this gentleman again.
Where
as soon
at?
as they left. At the end of, I think it's 204 Promontory Way. That your officers just left here in Hendersonville.
Promontory Way.
Oh yeah.
It was another assault. Is this a domestic?
She just grabbed a hold of him and slammed him and grabbed his phone, and she just got in my face and yelled and screamed, and and she's got his phone now. She went in the house and shut all the lights off and
Hey, Hendersonville, that female has assaulted that male at that 204 Promontory Way. Yep.
Again.
Sir, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. And she's gone into the house?
Yeah, she went in the house, shut all the lights off.
All right, so I think we can stop it right there. There's no reason to keep going. And so basically what that does is that's showing you the dispatch said, again? Yeah, again. Okay. Now, in the state of Tennessee, when you take somebody's phone away from them and they cannot call for emergency help, that puts them in a place where you have committed assault, which will go under this Tennessee code annotated. You can't take somebody's phone away so that they can't call for help. Okay. So that right there is a whole nother charge on top of the original charges that should have been happened. Now, the interesting thing about this is she was arrested. She was taken to jail. She made bond. That's her right. That's everybody's right. She is presumed innocent until proven guilty. And that burden relies on the state. Okay. We've obviously had witnesses, all of that. Now, Mr. Floyd, the first caller, the one who was assaulted, has died since then. We don't know why. We don't know what the cause of death is. And the interesting part is Lori's Ashley's case, they have said was sent to Davidson County, Nashville to be prosecuted because it could be a conflict of interest for them to charge her in the Sumner County Court because she's the director of elections. And of course, the DA is elected. And so are the judges. Okay. So they say they sent it over to Davidson County. Well, the problem is when we call Davidson County has no record of this case at all on file. They have been the Sumner County Clerk's Office has been very, very secretive about where this case is at, what's happening with it, to the point that we know that they're trying to prolong it to make it disappear so that they can keep Lori Ashley in office. Now, anybody else that would have been charged with not just these crimes, but the theft of the trailer that she was involved in prior to this would have been put on administrative paid leave pending the outcome of the court case. Okay. This is somebody that is running our elections. I think we've got a little bit of an issue here.
Mm-hmm. And Sean, if I can jump in real quick, one thing that citizens need to be concerned about is when these charges of these nature are drawn out by complicity. That is that, the DA is not pressing the charges, then are pursuing the case. What that does is it tees up for the defense counsel, who may or may not have an agreement in advance, but what it's called the Speedy Trial Act. And every criminal defendant, if they're not provided a speedy trial, they can move to dismiss the case on grounds that it's been just delayed for too long. So what it looks like objectively is drawing this thing out is designed to tee up a Speedy Trial Act motion to get the whole thing dismissed, and she'll never have faced the citizens will never get their day.
No accountability.
No accountability.
So that's how all of this is happening with Christina Templet and how she's allowed to run for office. And now we can see the why they have control of the elections is because they're putting their people in place, like Lori Ashley, and keeping her in place. The people who she bought the voting machines from are supplying an attorney to assist her with this to make sure she stays in place. Okay. There's some issues there.
Sean, I've got the Celeste Murphy.
Let's show that
up here. So this is what's really interesting is they said, despite all of that, the documents, the open source documents showing all of the residency violations and the voter registration violations and all that, they said not enough evidence. But in a neighboring county, this is just east of, it doesn't touch Nashville, but this is out of Chattanooga, Hamilton County. TBI investigated. There was a prosecutor pro tem that was assigned to this case. We'd asked for a prosecutor pro tem to help take the conflict out. You request that through the Attorney General of the state of Tennessee. We'd also asked for an investigative grand jury. That happened in this case. Now, here's what happens when you get those things. Look, so you have illegal voter registration, and this is all it takes. Somebody did unlawfully, intentionally, and knowingly register to vote or attempt to register vote in a manner where they were not entitled to. That's a Class D felony.
Wow.
Well, we showed evidence of that, right? False entries on official registration or election documents. I mean, just look how succinct this is. Knowingly made or consent to any false entry on any permanent registration, poll list, election tally sheet, or any official registration or election document. Class D felony. And this just goes on and on. Look how many. There's over 17 different charges here, and that's because of the way that this works. You lie on a document for your voter fraud. That's a charge. You've also committed a separate offense. And these things go on and on and on. But this is what it looks like here. Then you got issues with perjury, forgery, and all of these other things. So the TBI did in fact investigate in a neighboring county this very issue that we were asking them to look into for Christina Templet, and this is what it should have looked like. And we never got that. And so this is what happens when there's either I'm going to look the other way. I'm not going to look into it. I'm not going to really conduct a real investigation. I'll conduct what's called a sham investigation. Make a few phone calls, never follow up, never do anything. Write a report, submit it. The thing's been whitewashed. So. We don't need to go through this whole other thing. It basically just shows how many there's 17 different images on there from that very, very same scheme that was happening in Millersville.
Absolute cover up, corruption. You're dealing with voter fraud. You're dealing with election fraud. We know all about the machines. Keeping people in place to keep these machines in place that people are utilizing to flip that vote or do what they do to steal the elections. Let's touch on, Sean, we didn't get to take a look at the numbers in regards to, just to give us a little taste of the mortgage fraud.
Let's look at that, but let's look at some of the things that we're finding. Okay. Before we get into that, that's going to go. We're going to end up there.
Okay.
But let's go further into Christina Templet. Okay. So we know that she was put on a share screen with you.
Got it. Pulling it up now.
Okay. So we know that Christina was installed as a Millersville City Commissioner November 24th, 2020. We got all the documents on that. At a work session, they have an agenda sheet and the number 9 discussion on city-owned property at Bethel Road and US 31. And they discussed this piece of property, okay? On Tuesday, September 21st, Board of Commissioners and agenda, item number 9 again, 2 proposals concerning city-owned property, a letter of intent from Stay Pro Investments owned by Christina and her husband, LLC, and an offer to purchase city-owned parcel at the intersection of Highway 31 and Bethel Road, listing agreement from Southeastern Commercial Properties, which the templates happen to know these people and are friends with these people at SCP, Southeastern Commercial Properties. We don't believe that this was a legitimate contract that these people were offering. Mm-hmm. And this land was never actually put up for sale by the city. Okay. It was never for sale. So on Monday
at all for it.
What's that?
There was no marketing.
Yeah, nothing.
Property should have been marketed. There should have been all this other stuff. There were probably dozens of citizens that could have paid for this property too if they were allowed to bid for it. That might have wanted it. In fact, we know of several that did that never knew about it.
Yep. So on Monday, November 21st, 2021, at the work session agenda item 6, land purchase agreement with Stay Pro Investments LLC is discussed. And then Tuesday, November 16th, 2021, Commissioner's agenda item number 9, review and approval of land purchase agreement with Stay Pro Investments. Okay. Tuesday, the 16th, the same day, review and approval of land purchase with Stay Pro Investments. Vice Mayor Bell moved to approve the land purchase agreement with Stay Pro Investments, seconded by Commissioner Gregory, who is Christina's buddy there. And Christina voted on this herself.
She voted on herself. Okay, got that.
To take this property, okay?
Is that legal? Is that legal? That
no,
she can
that is highly illegal. And we have all the documents to be able to back up every bit of that information. There was another land deal where the city had pulled a grant to be able to put a road that would go through to another road. And the reason that they were doing this is we're going to go to Google Earth here and we'll show it to you. So you guys can see it. Yeah. Let's go ahead and
Sean, I just want to point out that, we have these tools available to us. We, the regular people who are standing for freedom, standing for truth, and standing for justice. Google Earth is a perfect example. All right. What are we going to see?
Oh, yeah. Google Earth is awesome, especially when you want to start digging into a lot of this stuff and seeing the time lapse. Okay. Because time lapse will show you the different construction, the different building that is happening and things like that. So let's see here. So we've got Cartwright Circle right here. And we have, this is Cartwright Parkway. So if we go back
right now, there we go. Tell us one more time, Sean.
Okay. So let me pull this up. I'm going to go back a little bit.
Okay.
Our time frame here. Here we go. Okay. Right here. So we see this piece of property right here, right? Where my cursor is.
Yes.
The city owned this property. They had gotten a grant from the state to do a cut through to this road here. Okay. So they were going to be able to get a cut through here. The reason that was needed is on the front of this property, you could only enter off of Williamson Road. This tree line where my cursor is at, there is a creek that floods. So if this area floods, you cannot get in or get out of this subdivision. So they wanted to have another road that went through this way in case of emergencies and things like that, so they could get people in and out. So the city pulled a grant and was doing construction, going to start construction right here, and they had pulled this grant to do this.
And I think they took those lots by eminent domain too, didn't they?
I can't remember, but the people I don't think wanted to give up those lots, but they were kind of forced to. And so what had happened is the city had bought the city was planning on buying 2 lots on another roadway, and they had stated openly in a meeting that they were going to offer $50,000 for these other 2 lots. Well, the Templates knew about this because they were at the meeting, and the Templates went and bought those other lots for $51,000, $1,000 more than the city was going to pay. Then they brokered a deal with the mayor, Tim Lassiter, at the time to take the 2 lots that the Templates just bought for $51,000 and trade the city for these 2 lots so that the Templates could build houses and the mayor could build the houses for them. Okay. So that's what they did. And they voted on this and got this passed. So what ends up happening is instead of this road going through here for emergency egress, you have the building, and now you have the 2 houses that were built with the assistance of the mayor, who brokered this deal with the Templates, and the Templates made a huge profit on this area because they built it up. And now
So is that the reason, Sean, is that this was about making a profit?
Absolutely.
Illegally.
Yes. Three people making a profit. And Sean, if you zoom out, I don't know how many houses are there. What, like 4 dozen, 50, 100 houses?
Yeah,
3
it's a
people
big
made a profit. And everybody in this development is now jeopardized. If there's a flood, and we're dealing with floods right now, I got a warning earlier this morning about we have to be on a flood watch until February 15th. These rivers are about to bust.
Tennessee, that's right. Yeah.
And if somebody has a heart attack or somebody gets into an accident or a kid gets hit in one, riding their bicycle in here or something, and that roadway is flooded. Now look what's there is no backup plan. They erased that for dollars and cents for profit through corruption.
Wow, that's intense.
Okay. So these are all the crimes that have been committed that were presented to the state of Tennessee regarding all the stuff that we had seen. We have the letter that we had requested a prosecutor pro tem and investigative grand jury. So it would be an independent investigation of what was done, and they refused to do it. But then the district attorney, Ray Whitley, goes on, and we're going to show this. And he says, there, if we can share that.
There we go. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger.
Your sworn complaint regarding Millersville Commissioner Christina Template was forwarded to me by the Tennessee Ethics Commission to determine if there were violations of Tennessee criminal law by Commissioner Template, warranting criminal investigation. In response to matters raised by you in your complaint, I request an investigation by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and that the investigation has now been completed. The TBI's investigation revealed that there have been no criminal laws violated by Commissioner Template that can be successfully prosecuted, and that there will be no criminal prosecution in this matter. Okay, we know that there is more than enough because we have the documents. The letter that the DA sent to Bryant states something different than this. Okay, he says that there's not enough evidence to get a conviction. With Bryant's letter, I can't remember, Bryant, how did he word your response?
It was something slightly different. It was to the effect of there was not enough evidence to bring charges that could be successfully prosecuted or something like that. And that's a phrase that people need to be aware of. It can't be a successful prosecution. Well, what do you mean? Of course, it's never going to be successful if you never bring the charges. But there's this game that I see a lot of the prosecutors play, and it's not just here. This is everywhere, where they say, well, I just don't see how I can carry the burden beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, ladies and gentlemen, beyond a reasonable doubt is whatever I, as an attorney, can convince you it is. There's no difference between that And, we'd like to try to say there's a difference between that and clear and convincing evidence. But I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, when a jury gets its charge by the judge, they say, look, you determine whether it's been carried beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you believe that this is this? And we put people to death in this country with little more than circumstantial evidence and circumvented hearsay. So please, spare me this where I can't successfully prosecute it stuff. Bring the charge, put it in front of a jury. You take this stuff out of it. You don't have to make the choice. That's why you get a prosecutor pro tem in here to cleanse itself of this stuff, But yeah, watch out for that stuff in any state. We've all seen it before in different headlines,
So this is the tip of the iceberg, right?
Yeah, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So what the templates are doing is they're trying to push in all these multi-family homes. And what that's doing is that's helping create the gentrification within the city of Millersville so that they can alter the vote to go towards a uniparty to the people like Christina Templet, Lori Ashley, Judge Thompson, and these other judges that's actually hearing the case that Lori Ashley has done. And so we have all of this happening, and we have to ask ourselves, how is this getting funded? Well, how is this getting funded is we're going to share another screen with you right quick. And this will kind of bring it all together for everybody.
Beautiful.
Is what we're finding is a lot of these people, including judges, people that are involved in Act Blue, people who are involved in the election process, all of that is you have homes like this one here at 1348 Monarch Circle in Naples, Florida. Lori, actually, this is the report for like the deeds and the mortgages and stuff like that. And so this home right here, sale date 9/18/2006. We're going to go down to the bottom. So it has a market value of $504,097. Okay. I can see that. That's not a problem.
Let's blow that up nice and big, Sean.
Okay. Right there. $504,097
Yeah.
is total market value right there. Okay. So that's not a bad price for a home.
There you go. No, pretty average.
That's the 2023 tax year. So we're going to go up here where Lori Ashley has the home, but all of a sudden we see the sale prices. Are we seeing an issue here? And there's no loan amount. There's no mortgages. These are hard cash deals. Why are we seeing $33,745,000?
Can that be a misprint? I mean,
well, I wish I could say it was a misprint, but the problem is this is not just a simple misprint because we have literally found hundreds of these different ones. And I'll show you another one just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. That these cannot be misprints. There's no physical way that these are misprints because we're finding an abnormal amount of them, but then we're also finding where they're trying to go back and change some of this stuff. And one of the cases that we have with this, we actually have the tax sheet from the state of Tennessee where the taxes had to be paid on it. And then where the numbers were altered on the Alta loan mortgage insurance documents, we are finding all of this is being run through different places with these different things, including Act Blue. With Act Blue, we have found it, and I'm trying to pull one up for you right now real quick. So
and then connect the dots with me again with gentrification, the process of changing the character of a neighborhood through the influx of more affluent residents and businesses. What's this?
So what's happening is you have companies that are coming in, these rental companies, who the investment companies are taking their money and putting into these rental companies that they have. These rental companies are using a straw man to purchase homes for cash through laundered money. And then they're buying up like 10 homes in a subdivision for $100,000 each. So that's $1 million investment.
Yeah.
Then a street over in the same subdivision, they're buying 10 more homes at $100,000 each. So now they got 20 homes in a subdivision. for a total of $2 million that they have invested in cash money. Then they buy a home, one more home on each street, and they pay $200,000 cash for each of those homes, $100,000 over market value. So what they've done is they've artificially inflated the price of that home. Well, when you look at the comps, the other 20 homes that they just bought have now just doubled in price. They bundle those homes, those 24 or those 22 homes up because they've artificially inflated the price. They've doubled the price. So now those homes went from $2 million to what? $4 million overnight.
Wow. Equity
They have doubled.
Charged through a bank. So if you get, all it takes is another banker in this transaction, which we've got plenty of evidence of that. In fact, that's how Sean and I met, was over a bank fraud case that we were working years ago. And I tell you, people don't think it happens. It happens everywhere. That case involved theft of $1 million from a client. And it just happens. It just happens. But when you get somebody on the inside, here's how this works. You're thinking, well, what's the bank got for this? Well, okay, we're going to give a home equity line of credit to these people in the amount of $2 million, more than, so they paid $2 million from outside investors, right? Now they've got these properties that are rental only. They're not going to sell them. Well, who rents? People from out of state, people bringing their political values with them from places that are most likely not red, like Millersville was. It's going to be blue states coming in. There's this thing called purpling that's happening all throughout these areas. So people probably know Nashville's blue, but pretty much everything around it is red in terms of Republican versus Democrat. So you have what's bringing into these areas renters. Now you can, if you're renting, you can still vote. Your residency is where you're going to go rent. Sure. But now you got $2 million in fictitious money that you're going to get paid back to you, right? So you can even pay back your investors now if there was a buyout deal, for example. You've got some money, you got this, but that's not income to you. We got $2 million. That's a loan. So you don't have to notify the IRS about the $2 million that you go with your HELOC. Now, what does the bank get out of this? Well, mortgage-backed securities. Everybody knows what happened in 2008 with the vanilla mezzanine and stuff. That's right. These banks can take that up to 102% of face value for these fictitious mortgages. So, it was just a Scrivener's error. It was just a typo. I didn't mean to put that zero on there. Bull. It was probably a payoff. It was probably part of a larger scheme, and everybody profits to the tune of millions of dollars off of this. And then they sell them to people like your pension fund. So all of you, teachers' pension fund, police officers' pension funds, whatever. I know they're getting harder and harder to come by, but any number of things, any investment that goes and buys this paper at 102% face value, that bank gets that cash money, and then they're going to sell it. They're going to wait for a little bit. They're going to get a few payments to come in, and they're going to sell that down the river. Next thing you know, you can't tell where it came from. Jeez. That's happening. I guarantee you that's happening in everybody's backyard in this country.
And Sean, let me ask you this, Brian and Sean. We were talking last night about the impact on the families. When we see this gentrification happening, there's an impact on communities. There's an impact on families. What's that impact?
So what the impact is you have these families, because what this has done is it's artificially inflated the market within that area, which is driving up the taxes. So what that does is it makes it so that when the kids go off to college, they can't afford to come back and buy a house where they grew up. So they have to go to a different area. Mom and dad can no longer afford the taxes. So mom and dad want to be close to their kid, who's probably about to have grandkids by now. Right. So then they sell their house, and then that house is sold to somebody else who's coming in from a different state. Now, these rental properties are really looking at bringing in people that are illegals, that have broken the law to enter the United States. And they're also bringing in people that are part of this agenda with the transgender and all of this stuff, to bring their politics with them to help turn the area blue. And then they vote for these people like Christina Templet and this judge and this Lori Ashley to keep them in office, because then they can continue pushing their agenda. Now, if you want to, we're going to share another screen.
Yeah, sharing now.
And this is Regina Stafford Jones, who is the CEO of Act Blue, on one of her homes.
Okay. So now we're on to Act Blue. So you're showing us right now how this is not just happening in that little microcosm right there. It's happening everywhere.
That is correct. It is happening everywhere, to the point that what people need to understand about property is, you don't think that it ties into anything else? Well, let's show you what else this does tie into, because this is very, very important. What people need to understand is that this ties into things like what they call the property assessor, because the property assessor is the one that you deal with all of the transactions and things like that, your taxation of the homes and things like that. Go ahead and pull that up. This is Paul Peterson, who is in Maricopa County, Arizona, who is now in federal prison for human trafficking of women, pregnant women from the Marshall Islands.
Wow.
Okay. Now do we see what some of this stuff ties into?
Okay, go back. Connect the dots for me again. We were talking Act Blue. We saw the prices of selling the mortgage. Connect the dots for me.
So you cannot have these transactions running through a county. The property assessor deals with its own individual county, much like the election commission deals with its own county. All of these things are broke up to the county level. Okay. Brian, how would you explain the property assessor and what he does? Let's give it some legalese here.
Well, look at what's important. Again, follow the money, right? So if I'm a property assessor and I don't want to have to pay my gas bill, for example, like inside that software, I can list that land as vacant, even if there's a house there. So people aren't going to go check it. They'll think, oh, it's just a typo. It's just a mistake. It was a scrivener's error. They love that phrase. But in fact, you're skirting or shirking your duties to pay taxes or pay it's property taxes, it's gas bills, it's utilities, it's everything else. You're getting it for free. Meanwhile, if you're living there, you're enjoying the benefit of it. If you're renting it, you're probably charging these people a flat rate for it that you're pocketing. So there's that whole level. Now, the assessor, you also have to assess taxes for how much the property is worth and all these other things. So if there was a $30 million payout here to get around income tax and FinCEN reporting and SARS reports and all of these other things, right? Well, how do you cover that up? Well, if you're the property assessor, right, you can do that. You could get in your computer. All it is here is a person entering information. And I don't know if your viewers know what it's like to use some of these government programs. This stuff was probably coded in 1980, and they've never fixed it. Like, it is some serious old school stuff, and they like it that way. They don't want checks. They don't want audits. They want somebody to have to sit there and go through line by line by line by line. This is exactly what Elon Musk and Doge are correcting, by the way. I think they're saying that all the Medicare and Medicaid stuff is in some, what was it, like a limestone quarry mine or something? It's all by paper.
Yeah.
Well, they don't want you. Why is that? Oh, it's so inefficient. We could go do this. Well, of course, it's entered electronically at some point. Why are we doing that? Because we don't want to we want it buried. That's why, because corrupt people, corrupt officials especially, they don't want honesty. They don't want to fix the citizens.
That's right.
They want you to jump through the hoops. They want you to not dig deeper. And here we are. Look at this stuff. So yeah, there's all kinds of ways to manipulate this stuff at every level. And if your buddies are in other places, say the local bank, especially if it's not federally chartered, look out, just a little local chartered bank, you've got a board of directors. Look who's on the board of directors. That's another important thing. See if they're officials or former officials. See how it's going on. Just kind of like USAID. See if there's any, right? See who's getting the payouts on this stuff. Yeah.
So what we're saying is the string of pearls, okay? That string of pearls connecting the dots, all of the corruption. This is like parasite after parasite after parasite. What's a parasite? It's an organism that lives in or on an organism of another species. It's a host and benefits by deriving nutrients at the other's expense. That is what we've been seeing today.
And you bring up a string of pearls. Let's go ahead and complete this little string of pearls right here. So we've got the property assessors now is where we're at. But when we started earlier today, we were talking about human trafficking and an op that we did in Millersville, Tennessee, in Sumner County. So here you have the property assessor in Maricopa County, Arizona, who is in prison right now for human trafficking. How does that affect the city of Millersville? Well, let's look at that. So this is Tim Bonatsky. He was a deputy property assessor under Paul Peterson, and Tim was fighting to get Paul put back into place, even though he had charges on him and was awaiting trial. Maricopa County said, no, we're not going to do that. Tim is now in your neck of the woods as assessor, recorder, and county clerk.
Yes, he is in my neck of the woods. And
okay, so that's where he's at now.
Diego.
But how does that come back to Sumner County and Millersville? It comes back through our county mayor, Mr. Isabel, who used to be the property assessor for like 16 or 17 years in Sumner County. But Sean, how does that connect? Oh, through an email from Tim Bonatsky to John Isabel. And he says, dude, my email is on fire this AM about you running for county executive. What is the plan, Haas? Are you done with the IAAO? Honestly, more of your supporters feel uneasy than your opposition. The IAAO is the International Assessors Association office of all the property assessors. And why would the supporters feel more uneasy than the opposition? And what the hell does Tim Bonatsky have to do with the property assessor, John Isabel, who's running for county mayor and won? Isn't that just kind of strange?
The webs we weave in order to deceive.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, when we go to bring these things together, this isn't fabrication. This isn't we do this in a clear way, and we bring the evidence. When our detective went to go and retrieve these emails from the county again, because they were going to reinvestigate what the TBI said wasn't there, he went to get a judicial subpoena from the judge. And Bryant, let's close this out with what the judge said and how that all came about.
So there is what we found after the search warrants in Millersville and Sean Taylor's house were executed. There were some notes that were left behind, essentially, that one of which said attempted subpoenas. And there was only one thing that meant. And in fact, this Detective Candler, who's one of the plaintiffs in the RICO lawsuit, he was the one who went down and tried to get this attempted subpoena. So it was talking about a judicial subpoena. Now, this is a common tactic. You go try to get a Public Records Act request here in Tennessee, and Tennessee has one of the broadest public records acts in the state, if not the broadest one. Slowly, they're trying to chip that away, and I would encourage your viewers everywhere to keep it broad, keep it open, keep the records, make sure the citizens can see it, because that is how you find this stuff. But they didn't want this particular set of emails and things that came out. We knew from inside the organization that they were likely not going to give those up again, because we figured it was probably a mistake. Now, those are honest responses, but we didn't think that there was going to be a chance that we'd get them again. One, because of how damning they are. I mean, everybody saw what we just saw. It's pretty clear and convincing evidence, if not evidence beyond a reasonable doubt, that there was issues with election fraud, residency fraud, voter fraud. So these Public Records Act requests are submitted. Now, from a law enforcement and courtroom perspective, you may have documents, but you have to authenticate where those came from. So you do a Public Records Act request, or you do a subpoena, and then the subpoena is what's the custodian of records in response. They'll give you that, say these are authentic and true and correct records of the same. That's what makes them admissible, right? So routine stuff. This detective's going down there. In fact, the email says your subpoena's ready. Just come pick it up. So he goes down there, goes to pick it up, and this is what we've alleged in our RICO complaint as well, if people want to go read it. But he gets in there, and instead of being handed this subpoena for the same Public Records Act, which request which hadn't been fulfilled at that time, dragging it on. He goes in there and they put him on the record, and the judge starts questioning him about stuff. Said things like, "I know these people. These people are my friends. I know these people. These are lawyers. What's the nexus here? What do you want here?" Et cetera, et cetera. This is attorney-client privilege. And Detective Campbell said, "Well, no, these are public records. We know they're public records based on the ethics complaint from Mr. Pierce that everybody saw here. We're just papering our file, essentially. Now, we have requested the recording in that thing, and we've been denied. We've been stonewalled. So that's based on the best of his recollection. He did also write a statement after that when he came back after that happened. And guess who took off all 3 copies of that statement that were notarized? Yep, TBI did. Why would they need all the copies? I don't know.
Tennessee Bureau of Investigation.
I don't know, but I can guess. I sometimes you're sitting here and you're just wondering that it just doesn't pass the smell test. But then that issue, right? These attempted subpoenas, there is nothing unlawful about attempting to or accessing the judicial process. That's what our entire government is built on. That you will, when it's time to go try to get process or get these things, you go to a judge who should be a neutral and detached magistrate.
That's right.
Sits there, listens to the evidence, listens to whatever. Now, mind you, this is not the same as a search warrant. This is a subpoena. It's a much lower burden. This is a discovery device, right? So he doesn't have to have probable cause, but I'm pretty sure he did. When he was swearing to the facts of this issue for this investigation, which had a case number, which had the whole thing, and instead of it just being denied and saying, I'm not going to do it, right? I don't think there's enough evidence here. That's what should have happened. Well, this somehow gets over to the TBI from this judge. I think we can know what happened is it was sent over there. At least that's what the complaint alleges. And then the TBI used that very attempted subpoena as a basis for a search warrant that judge signed. So you've got this exchanging of paper. Yes. Well, what is a neutral and detached magistrate? It's according to black letter case law. That's the law in every state. That's the law according to the U.S. Supreme Court. It's not one that's engaged in an investigation. It's not one who is a witness to something. It is not one who's part of this. It's somebody who is neutral and detached. And that's what the Fourth Amendment requires. So remember, it's not just the state constitution that's at issue here. It's also federal rights that people have. And I hope that your viewers will listen to this. If they're dealing with corruption in their town, if they're dealing with this stuff and they've got corrupt officials above it, it's time to go to the federal government. Cash Patel's he's gonna get in, hopefully. He's gonna come in here. We're gonna clean this up.
Right. Come on, Cash.
Good FBI agents out there. I know many of them. I've worked with them.
Yes.
And it's time for them to be let off the leash. They've been hamstrung by the prior administration, and it's time to go get them. Let's do it.
That's right. Come on. So let's touch on that RICO case before we close out. The importance of the RICO case, how it's a template. Do we want to actually maybe distinguish what a RICO case is so that people understand what they can now access for themselves in their community?
Absolutely. Yeah. So what we filed here, because I'm not a prosecutor, I'm not a U.S. attorney yet. Anyway, if anybody hears this, you want to put me in that position, I'll be happy to do it. I'll drain this swamp in 90 days. Okay. But civil RICO has a criminal counterpart. What that means is if you have a racketeering, influence, corrupt organization, you as a citizen or a group of citizens can sue, go hire a private attorney, get some funds for it. There's litigation advances that can happen, by the way. You get a loan out, and some of it's more risk-free than you'd imagine. Go get you an attorney, go file this stuff. If one of you is an attorney, file it, have them represent you, et cetera, et cetera. These same allegations, if there's proof of civil RICO, there's also proof of criminal RICO. It's the same stuff. So if you're talking about election fraud and voter fraud and residency fraud, so a civil RICO in this context, right, could target individuals and groups engaging in a pattern of corrupt activities affecting interstate commerce, right? That's all it is. Well, certainly this does. Anything that touches the internet is interstate commerce. Anything that crosses state lines is interstate commerce. Mail-in ballots, interstate commerce. Right. Money going from organization to organization. You remember Sean's chart, those lines?
Yes.
That's not just the connections. That's not just the string between the pearls. That is a flow of money. That is not just a political donation or a donation or a fee or a consulting fee. And go look at your election campaign funds and distributions. You want to see some hinky stuff? Sean and I were on this 4 hours yesterday going through it, just saying, oh my God, how is this happening?
And this is millions, if not $1 trillion at fraud and embezzlement.
Yeah, it's not a fee. It's not a donation. It's material support for a racketeering, influence, corrupt enterprise. So when these people come together, it's an association. In fact, that's what RICO requires. And all you have to do is experience damages in your property or your business, your property interests or your business interests. So if you were a citizen in a town that could have bid on a property that was corruptly sold and ripped out from underneath you, you could have bid on it. That might be enough to get you across the way. If your services, based on this very thing, your government services are influenced through this thing, your property and your business might be affected. Go talk to a lawyer. Go look at this stuff. But when you're talking about election fraud and racketeering, you've got the enterprise, you've got the people. You can seek remedies to fix this. So there's been cases that have attempted this. Now you do have to have evidence. You can't just allege things falsely or without any material basis. This is one of the types of cases that requires a little bit heightened allegations, which is one of the reasons why the one that I filed on behalf of Detective Doris and Detective Candler was very lengthy. I wanted to ensure that everything was there. So when it comes up for a motion to dismiss, you start getting into these procedural games that happen. So you got to anticipate that. But by golly, take it up to a federal court. This is a federal cause of action. Get outside of the bubble and test the case, right? So civil RICO, you can do that. You can file one pro se. I would not recommend that unless you have absolutely no recourse at all. But understand you've got an uphill battle times 10, right? So get a lawyer to do this for you, or better yet, take this evidence to the DOJ, the Department of Justice here. Take it to the FBI, file a complaint, bring them the documents. You've seen the stuff that we have here.
Yep.
You've seen the all public record, all accessible. If there's a fee for it, share it with if you've got a group of friends that are equally pissed off at this just grifting and this ridiculous stuff, pull your money together. Put a little fund. Go get a GoFundMe or something that. Go get a thing. Pay for this stuff. Get the evidence. Make copies of it. Save it in the cloud. Put it somewhere before it vanishes, because we're watching that happen.
Physical copies as well.
Physical copies. Mail it to your cousin in California and say, put this under your couch, and if I need it in 20 years or whatever, just forget about it. But I might need it. Whatever. Save it. Document it. Put it in the cloud. Put it everywhere. Give it to. You go file a complaint. And then go meet up with them. Make sure that it's being followed up with. File your complaint, file this stuff. And let's hope that this administration will actually allow these cases to go forward.
So good. Sean, I'm going to pass it to you to get ready to close this out. Oh, and I've got to pull this up because I think we need to see this one more time. The systematic corruption.
So this is the beast right here.
Wow.
All right. This is the animal. And when we actually look at it, and it all breaks out into the different cells that create this entire beast. This is our organism. We know the money, we know the human trafficking, we know the weapons trafficking, we know the narcotics trafficking, and we are putting it all together. And people need to understand we're working on it. We've got the evidence. We've got the proof. And it's all going to come together. And when it all comes together, one of our main points of interest on a lot of this stuff is going to be Maricopa County, Arizona.
Yeah.
Maricopa County, Arizona.
Well, and look who's in that county.
All roads lead to Maricopa.
Look who's in that county. Look how many billionaires are in that county, and what kind of billionaires, Sean? What did we find out there?
It's ridiculous on the amount, and but you know what? We're going to get there. Cash is going to come in. We got Pam Bondi. We've got a bunch of really, really good people. We got Tom Homan out there busting his butt.
Come on, Tom.
We got the FBI. That's some still corrupt cells within that organization that Cash is going to push out. That outed an ICE op the other day, and let me tell you, that crap's going to stop. We got charges coming on the people up there in New York. All kinds of great things are happening. And, again, we just have to break the organism down into the cells and start looking at each individual thing and bringing in the charges. We're working.
Come on. Okay.
I want to tell your people one more thing, and this is the important part here. Courage. It takes courage to stand up to this stuff. You've seen what happens, but do not back down. Keep yourselves, don't let them. What they're going to try to do is divide and conquer. That's what they tried to do in Millersville. And when they couldn't get us to fracture, when they couldn't do this thing, it was a BS raid. And then it was all of this negative press. It was everything else. But citizens, have the courage to take that first step forward and go and get the records. I mean, go monitor your local elections closely. The smaller the election, the easier it is to manipulate. But that one seat can make a difference. Go down there and monitor. Go get a lawn chair and sit there and watch. Get a little counter and see how many people are actually coming in. That way, when they post those tally sheets, you counted 30 people and it's got 1,000 on there. You got a problem, right? Demand transparency. Loosen your Public Records Act laws. Don't tighten them. We want more records, not less. Okay. Expose this stuff. Challenge it. Have the courage to do it, and then elect officials or who will investigate it, or who will appoint those who are going to investigate it. And look at how important that is with what President Trump has done with Elon Musk and Doge. I mean, look at this stuff. This is, just shocking amounts of fraud. And by golly, just find somebody eager to get it. You put me in that position, and I'll start putting these people in jail.
Come on, guys. Take courage. So good, Bryant. So good. Standing for truth, getting involved, doing the kinds of research you just mentioned, putting all the pieces together. Now, I want our listeners, our viewers, to be able to support you, because the reality is it has cost much for you to do the work you've done, both you and Sean. So the first link that we have up is support former city attorney Bryant Kroll. Please donate, you guys. Every cent matters. It could be $1, it could be $5, it could be $500, it could be $5,000. GiveSendGo.com, Millersville, Rico. Again, I'm going to show that link to you all. We want to support Bryant Kroll so we can continue to do the work he's doing. GiveSendGo.com/Millersville, Rico. Now I'm going to pull up the next link. We want to support retired Chief Sean Taylor so that he can continue to support us, right? We want to go to GiveSendGo.com, Stand with Sean. Again, that's GiveSendGo.com/Stand with Sean. These warriors don't ask you for money. Let me just tell you, I just want you to know, these guys have put their lives on the line. Sean has moved multiple times because of his safety. Fox News telling people where he lives. Okay, after the TBI stealing all of that evidence. Okay, we're going to call it stealing is what we're going to call it. So here's the deal. Please support Assistant Chief Sean Taylor. Much has been sacrificed for you to have this information today. GiveSendGo.com/Stand with Sean. And get ready, because Operation Clean Sweep Round 3 is coming up. That is on the 20th. So it's next week. Same time, same place. Tell your friends, share this, get the information out. You can find link 1 or part 1, part 2 at Rumble. So if you go to takeyourpowerbackshow.com, you'll find it on the Rumble. Or if you are listening into a show host, something other than Take Your Power Back Show, support that show host. Go to their page, their Rumble page, where you're watching this broadcast. Go watch part 1. Very likely they shared part 1. So gentlemen, what can we look forward to in Operation Clean Sweep? Part 3?
I think one of the things you're going to be able to look forward to is the sorting of the good versus the bad. And one of the things that I want to just kind of bring your attention to is I'm going to read you something, and it's something that I thoroughly feel fits in what's happening right now in this country that's going to affect the rest of this world. And Doge and what we're doing here is leading the way. And it's Matthew 13:47-50. And it says, and again, the kingdom of heavens is like a net that was thrown into the sea and gathered fish of every kind. When it was full, men drew it ashore and sat down and sorted the good in containers, but threw away the bad. So we'll be at the end of the age. The angels will come out and separate the evil from the righteous and throw them into the fiery furnace. In that place, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. It's time for the separation of good versus evil, and it's happening right now. Part 3 will bring more together.
So good. Sean Taylor, thank you. Thank you. Retired, yeah, right. Assistant Chief Sean Taylor and Bryant Kroll, former city attorney. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the work you do. An honor for every single one of us that are listening today. An honor for all the show hosts, all the broadcasters, all the streamers. It's an honor to share this information. Thank you for being a stand for us. Thank you for bringing the truth into the light. And we got to remember, just like Sean said, we are in a spiritual battle. And let me tell you, no weapon forged against us will prosper. We will refute every tongue that accuses us. This is the vindication that comes from me, declares the Lord. And that's Isaiah 54:17. So here we go, guys. We just heard about the civil federal RICO case, discussed exposing the microcosm of the systematic corruption, and opens the door for a federal criminal RICO case. Come on, Kash Patel. Come on, Pam Bondi. This is our template for fighting corruption. So get ready for Operation Clean Sweep Part 3. A big thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to the back end. Robert on the back end, thank you. We couldn't do this without you. We love you, love you, love you. Chula Vista Data, San Diego Data, love you guys. And remember, what you saw today was a 16-year murder board connecting all the dots like a string of pearls, each pearl being that parasite of corruption. It's time for we, the people, to be courageous. It's time for we, the people, to stop the corruption. It's time for we, the people, to take our power back and take this great republic back. We love you. God bless you. Follow us at takeyourpowerbackshow.com, takeyourpowerbackshow.com. We're going to see you next week, same time, same place, for Operation Clean Sweep, Round 3. That's right, Operation Clean Sweep, Round 3. We love you guys. God bless you. And what do we say next, guys? Stand tall, be courageous, stand firm. Let's go. Here we go. Let's close it out.
Thank you for joining us for the Take Your Power Back show. As Peak Performance Breakthrough Coach Kim Yater speaks to other freedom-loving Americans that are making a positive impact in the world by standing in truth amid adversity. Listen in weekly and learn how to take your power back in your freedom, in your personal and professional life, in technology and creativity, and in your faith. Be encouraged, be inspired, be transformed as you step into your power and take action in your leadership and allow your voice to be heard. Together, let's take your power back. To sponsor and support the Take Your Power Back show, go to takeyourpowerbackshow.com. That's takeyourpowerbackshow.com and take your power back.